When Dr. Bob introduced my fly that he caught his terrific bass on, he told you that it was a mudler minnow. It really isn't. It's a copy of a sculpin, like you see in this picture in front of you. And I'm going to show you how to build one, so hang in there. In this illustration, you see a salmon hook. I just happen to have some of them, but you don't really need to use that. What you're going to need is to put on a tapered body with some yarn of an appropriate color for the particular sculpin that you're tying. And you put a piece of wire on the hook first, as it calls for in the materials list, which appears at the end of this video. Next, you're going to want to take the piece of wire, I use green wire because I had some here, and wrap it forward over the body that you put on the hook, and then take a small clump of squirrel tail hair, like I used here, or any substitute that you may have that's going to be a fairly stiff hair, but not something too heavy like deer hair. And you tie that in next. Then you're going to select 2 breast feathers. If you have a whole skin, like I had from a pheasant, there's many feathers on that pheasant skin that'll work fine. But it can be from a duck, it can be from other creatures as well. This seemed to work fine for me, and that's what I've been using all along. After you put the 2 breast feathers on, one on each side, which replicate the fins that you see in the illustration of the sculpin that's at the beginning of this video. The next thing you're going to need to do is select 2 sort of very webby hackles from a neck that you may have. I used a badger neck here, and I kept them skinny because it would make the illustrations a little clearer without a lot of different feathers going all over the place. But you use whatever you have that's similar to that. But the webbier ones are best. Next, you're going to want to tie on several bunches of deer hair. This is sort of a special technique that you have to work on, and I will plan to do some live demonstrations in the future so you can get an idea of how it's all done. And I will probably make a specific video just for that purpose, to illustrate how you do the trimming and the tying on of the deer hair. This is the final step in assembling this fly, and it's trimming off the excess deer hair that you get on the head when you pack it and put it in place. Again, this is something that you're going to have to do a couple of times to get proficient at. It won't come to you, automatically. All right, let's take a look at some of the flies that I've tied over the years in this same vein, and you'll see that I have substituted materials here and there, and all of it works pretty well, and I'll just give you a few details as we go through. Sculpins come in many different colors, not exclusively in the dark brown and tan area, but it's probably the most common that's found in the wild. You can substitute materials, as you've seen that I've done in some of these flies. Here I substituted some other materials in constructing this fly, and particularly note along the bottom is some extra hair that can be used with some UV glue put on it to create a sort of natural looking weed guard that Dr. Bob has made popular with this fly. In some of the flies that I've tied in this particular sculpin pattern, you'll notice that there's some red where the gill plates would be, and I've given that a try. And like I said, you don't have to stick to an exact recipe. Use materials that you have that would fit, that would work into this fly. Some of these flies are tied in slightly different looking patterns. At times I attempted to do away with the breast feathers on the side and substituted some different kinds of materials instead of the wide webby saddle hackle on the top, but the conventional ones always seem to work best. Here's an example of the classic tie. Nice broad hackle feathers on the back, nice and webby, fit across very well. And like I said, a little practice, you'll be tying them just like this. Once you get handy with tying deer hair, you may want to try something like this on a longer shank hook. This happened to be an imitation of a northern yellow perch, and I fished in a lot of lakes that this kind of fly was very successful with. Give it a whirl. You never can tell.